Greetings, Reelers. My name is Philip, and together with my wife Sherry and two of our friends, Chris and James, we're Fellowship of the Reel. Four people who love talking about movies almost as much as we do watching them. We hope you will join us as we dig deep into cinematic masterpieces and some that are, well, maybe not. You have an opportunity to be the fifth host of our little show. Click the link in the show notes and leave us a voice message telling us what movie you would like us to review. You can also reach out on our Facebook page, Fellowship of the Reel. From all of us at Fellowship of the Reel, thanks for listening. Okay, on with the show.
Are you recording this?
Studying a movie in the mechanical level, I think, can really bring some revelation.
I believe that no one sets out to make a bad movie, with the exception of...
On paper, this should work.
Yeah, this should work.
But I just don't like it.
That's your own fault if you haven't seen it.
Way over budget, start cutting
right,
scenes. Even the actors don't know what that movie is about. Shit, I wish I wrote that.
Which I love the title, but that movie's trash.
Well, it's oatmeal, man. It's good for you. Okay, here we are. Fellowship of the Reel, four friends in a movie. We are continuing with our series of Halloween movies once a week for Halloween for the month of October. And we are up to Scream. This was, whose pick was this?
This was my pick.
This was James' pick, okay. This, when did this come out? This came out
96.
96, yeah.
This is the reason I picked it. This one came out when I was the perfect age. I was 13, 14 at this time. And this one, it came out around the holidays and just took off. I think we were talking about how many times have you seen a movie in the theater?
Yeah.
I think I saw this one 2 or 3 times.
Really?
Because we were kids, you know.
Yeah.
We just went off as a group.
So when you say perfect age, you mean perfect age for movies to have like an impact on you, or particularly maybe like horror movies have an impact?
I think all of the above, and I think this one actually stands out as revitalizing the horror movie thing. So I was the perfect demographic for this movie. Well, so I figure when we're talking about October horror movies, this one for my generation really stands out.
I remember when this came out, how it was, I remember thinking this is genius, you know, that they've taken the whole history of slasher horror movies and boiled it down and made a movie, you know, with all the self-referential parts to it. And we'll get into that as we go, but it's very...
playing with conventions?
Yeah, playing with conventions and how meta it is, you know. Anyway, I thought it was pure genius. And we'll see if it holds up. I mean, I generally like this movie or whatever, but...
No, that's interesting that you say that for the perfect age, because I guess I've had a similar thought about a lot of movies, and you know, it's got to be around the same time. I mean, we're around the same age pretty much, so this one is not, I guess, one of those for me, but yeah, just I don't know. I guess we talked about that before, and I've definitely had that thought. Like certain movies, I know have a big impact on me,
right?
And then they're all in that mid-90s range, you know. So
that was around the time where I was just discovering my own stuff.
Sure, I think that's what it is. Yeah, that's true.
And by that time, that's when I started to branch out. My older brother started showing me movies like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs and that kind of stuff, and really opening it up. But this was right about that time, so I was just soaking all that in like a sponge. And this one, I still watch it yearly.
Oh, nice.
October movie.
10 was the perfect age when I saw Jaws because it scared the living shit out of me for years.
Right.
I think I was 5 or 6 when I saw Jaws, and I didn't get into water like bathtubs, pools.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, I must have been older.
It messed me up.
Well, we saw it. We were in Ocean City, Maryland on vacation, and I saw it at the beach in a drive-in theater. Okay, so there was no swimming the rest of that vacation.
That's really cool. So you lived in Ocean City, saw it on a beach, and then
we lived in Maryland, but we went down to Ocean City, Maryland for vacation
and watched it on the beach. That's very
cool.
So I think they have these watch parties where you can like sit on an inner tube out in the water and watch it. Would you do that?
No.
Oh yeah, they do that here, don't they? At the
I've heard about it. I've never done it. Just that's
absolutely
yeah.
Not.
I would not do that.
Like that.
There's no way.
Mess with you.
No, absolutely not.
There's no way.
Nope.
Anyway, so this is James Pick. I think, like I said, I think it was pure genius when it came out. So the domestic, it was 103 million domestic release, and almost as much international, 70 million, for a total a box office of 173 million on a budget of 14 million. So this absolutely killed
it. Yeah.
This really, I think it was an innovator as far as, like you said, James said, it reinvigorated. Because at that point, slashers had sort of gone out, and horror became more sophisticated, rather than just a guy with a knife. But this really put a twist on that. And
Well, okay, I do not like the slasher movies at all. Like, I may have seen Friday the 13th. I don't know. All those Freddy.
And Freddy, Halloween,
Yeah.
and
Okay, I saw Halloween on TV where everything's cut out. However, when this came out, I actually did like it
yeah,
because I guess it's funny,
I think it has enough humor to break the tension or whatever.
but yet the one of the best thing is you caught. I mean, I remember the first time I watched it, going, "Who is the killer?"
Yeah, it was very clever, and I have
And there's
some
so
notes.
many clues throughout that you're sitting there going, "Oh, he's got to be."
Yeah,
the
no,
killer."
there's one of the notes I have repeatedly is red herring, red herring, red herring.
Well, when they submitted this to the MPAA, it kept coming back NC-17 R.
Yeah.
And obviously for scary movies, they're going for PG-13. The producer went to the MPAA and said, "Okay, watch this as a comedy instead of a horror movie.
Yeah,
PG-13."
that's funny.
Wow, I did not know
So
that.
'Cause there is a significant amount
it's
of
not
blood in
R,
this.
it's PG-13. I guess I didn't
Oh,
even
I'm
pay
sorry, it
attention
is
to that.
R.
It is
It's R, but they were going for
Or NC-17. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it was watch it as a comedy movie. Okay, there you go.
So they didn't have to change any clips, pull anything.
They pulled a bit of blood out of it.
Because there's a lot. There's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I thought you were saying just watch, like, their perspective of viewing it as a comedy changed the rating, because
Yeah.
that's kind of
Essentially,
bullshit.
it essentially did, because there's so much of a comedic element to this movie that it's enjoyable, like Sherry was saying. That,
yeah, and I don't know if you could, with as much meta or self-reference going on to slashers, movies, horror movies, I don't know if you could pull it off without having a little bit of tongue-in-cheek comedy.
Yeah,
of
probably
some of
not. Yeah.
One or two of the references I think are almost parody. Is one especially, but without humor, I don't know that you could pull off all this self.
Yeah, I agree, because if you try to do it completely serious, and especially if you don't only have a few references, then it's just going to come off as like you ripped them off, like
Right,
a
right.
knockoff, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
trying to pay homage or something. So
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy have a big part in that with the way they perform.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
characters.
Yes, and it is almost an homage because one of the characters, like I can't remember his name. Is it Randy or whatever the guy?
Yeah, Jamie Kennedy
Yeah,
playing
The
Randy.
video store guy?
Yeah. Saying essentially it is the rules. I mean, so it essentially is a tip of the hat to everything that has come before, which I thought also was fairly
cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and this is jumping to the very, very end, but even when Matthew at the end is dying and he's sitting there cracking jokes, well, I'm going to be such trouble and all this stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm just sitting there laughing. And he's,
My mom is going to kill me.
yeah, I was like, okay, anyway, sorry. I know I jumped ahead, but
No, that's fine. So
I just thought it was, I mean,
Oh yeah,
especially
spoiler
Matthew.
alert.
Yeah, especially Matthew. I thought he was really funny.
Throughout its history of reviews by both audience and critics, fairly loved. It's neck and neck. Tomato meter for critics is 79%, 3.5 stars and above for critics, and 79% for fans, 3.5 stars above. So generally, still very well liked. This movie.
Yeah, obviously spawned a giant franchise that lasted through the 90s, the 2000s, and the
Yeah, well, there's
2010s.
another one coming out.
Yeah, it just came out like last
I
year or
saw
earlier
I
this
think there's
year.
an-
recent one, whatever that
2022,
one
yeah.
was,
Yeah.
that has
23.
I
Nev
forget his-
Campbell and Courtney Cox, they brought them back. That's one.
Yeah,
you're talking
that's
about, right?
the one I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And
Yeah,
Yeah, I was disappointed a little bit, but it was all right.
yeah,
I mean,
Well, after I watched this, I had to watch 2, 3, and 4.
yeah, sure. Well,
two's not bad. Three's pretty. I think 1, 2, and 3 are not bad. And then it gets into the newer generations, and that's when it kind of lost me. But as it should, I was in my 20s and 30s by then.
yeah, you're no longer like you were saying
Yeah.
earlier, you're no longer the demographic.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I saw maybe. I guess with the original cast, like with Nev Campbell and stuff. I saw what is that 1, 2, and 3, and then maybe the new one because I don't.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Well,
Were there
Could be
4 or
wrong.
5?
No, there's going to be 6 because there's one that's supposed to come out in 2023. It says it's Untitled Scream sequel,
Yeah.
which I don't know how it's
But
I think it was number 4 that I dropped out on.
Nev Campbell was in 4, or they made some without like her and Courtney Cox. Or am I thinking of a different series?
They were all.
They were all in them. Okay, I'm
All
thinking
in
something
'em.
different. Okay, then I probably saw them.
I think we have 1 through 4, right?
Yeah, we bought the box set.
And I had seen them all before, but I had, after I watched the first one, like I said, I had to sit and watch all of them, except for the newest one, which I saw earlier this year, and I didn't like that one.
Oh, that's right. The newest one was called Scream.
Yeah, it's almost like a
2022.
reboot type thing.
Oh.
Right?
25 years after. And
I guess
all
soft reboot is what they call them because where it's not like a complete. Is that right?
Right.
Soft reboot? Yeah, because it has the
Guess
main
so.
characters in it, and then from the original, but then you're introducing new people.
Yeah, I saw
It's not a
something.
remake.
I saw something that David Arquette was in talks to play Dewey again. I'm like, how many times does he have to get stabbed
Right.
in movies and be brought back? I know he's a fan favorite and he's awesome, but
Right.
come on.
Yeah, if you want him in the next one, stop stabbing him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. All right, so we break these movies down according to the Save the Cat method, which is 15 beats, and we break it down. And of course, we all did that, and I either forgot or was unaware because I made all my notes, did all my homework, and then I went to the book, only to find out that it was in the book. So I could have totally.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I could have totally cheated on this, but I'm kind of grateful I didn't because I want to compare how I saw it versus how Catboy saw it because
Catboy, what was his name?
Blake Snyder.
Blake Snyder. Save the Cat. Very quick way to break down a story.
Phil and I have used this so much for our own stories that we have a shorthand and we call him, I don't know who started it, but we started calling him Catboy.
Yeah.
Because there's a picture of, it's called Save the Cat, and there's a picture of the cat on the cover
Right.
of the first book.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not the definitive way to break down movies.
No,
but
it's
it's
just
a
Blake
helpful
Snyder. Yeah,
way.
just a helpful way,
A
Blake
way.
Snyder's way, and Phil and I really like it.
That's
Yeah. It was just very quick to get
crack a story.
Yeah.
If you're
Yep.
having trouble writing a story, it kind of
Yeah. What should happen now?
yeah. What should and when?
And I guess one of the reasons we like it so much, Phil, is I guess because we found that you can apply it to, like, I guess I wholly agree with him. There's only like 10 different genres of movies. Like every movie ever made can fit into one of these 10 genres that he's kind of
Yes.
come up with.
And there is.
And then the beats are very universal. And there's people will write movies without never even heard of Blake Snyder, and
Yes.
they still hit some of
Yeah.
these beats without even realizing.
There are some differing opinions. I remember, like, a long time ago, I found a book that was written a long time ago where the guy said there's only like 43 different stories or something. So there is some, but I think when you start breaking it down that fine, you are sort of overlapping and the differences are minor.
Sure.
So these 10 genres, I think, are the large, broad categories of all stories. Like, you'd be hard pressed to, I think, come up with something.
Oh, and this genre is, I don't think we said it, it's Monster in the House is the genre, like which
Yes.
almost every horror movie falls into this.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I don't know how deep it is, but is there a horror movie that's not Monster in the House?
Oh, I'd have to think
Yeah,
about
like-
it. I feel like
I couldn't think of anyone. Just throwing that out there as a mind exercise for somebody because I spent a solid 5 minutes thinking about it.
Well, for Monster in the House, he talks about a monster, the bad thing, the sin, which has brought on the monster,
and then it's going to be a contained,
and
like
then a house, usually, which is
like a spaceship, or in this case, it's the town and Scream.
yeah. And of those three, I think the house is the most, like, obviously it's a setting. So, yes, a house, but the house can be anywhere.
sure, like Aliens was a monster in the house, and there was on a spaceship.
Yeah, and the thing was on the
And the monster can be anything in terms,
yeah. So it's pretty broad.
So generally, all horror movies are monster in the house.
I think so. I mean, there might be some.
Yeah,
I'd have to look.
It's generally because the evil thing or the thing that's terrorizing you, like trouble in our own life, is usually generated. Obviously, there's a cause and effect, right? So, unless you want to talk about just random evil, the good person, and all of a sudden, I don't know. So, but in terms of story, I don't know. I'd have to really.
Yeah, maybe Cabin in the Woods. I've seen it, I think, once, but with the way that one plays with the conventions too. Like, I don't know if that
Because they had
changes.
people generating those.
Yeah, like it probably still fits, but I was just thinking because that one's a little bit different, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mind exercise. If anybody thinks of anything, leave a comment.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. But again, yeah. So monster in the house, a monster, a sin, which caused the monster, and a house. So we'll break this down how we saw it, and then we'll see how Blake Snyder broke it down or whatever. Because I had trouble with this one. Because right off the bat, I think movies like this sort of defy, like, structure is not, like, there should be a sign, structure not necessary, because it's basically a bunch of people running around screaming.
Half naked people running around
getting, because people go to these movies to see people get stabbed. I mean,
well, yeah, because it's primal, right? Which and Blake Snyder talks about that, but I think it's primal, right? It's oh shit, if there's some guy with a knife was chasing me, what would I do? Like it evokes,
and so
a certain reaction out of the audience. And that's why horror works.
Yeah, audiences typically are not interested in the character having a dark night where he is digging deep down and rallying, and they want to see the monster and people getting stabbed. The terror, the fear.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to go down like a rabbit hole, but I feel like unless you're going to like a drama, right? I would say any other genre, the audience is probably not, when they're going to watch a comedy, an action movie, horror movie, whatever, I don't think they're necessarily thinking, I want to see this guy grow, I want to see a character arc. But I think everyone enjoys that, and that makes them, to me, the best movies have those.
Yes.
Right? They enjoy them, and it hits them in the feels and all that, but they don't go into it thinking,
well,
I want the character arc, right?
So let me ask this question. Like, watching this movie, did you so you liked the characters, but did you really give a shit about any of them? No. You're like, okay,
I did not. No,
he's the next guy going to get stabbed. How's he going to get stabbed?
That's a perfect horror movie unknown actors, and I don't really give a shit about them. However, going back to Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy, you enjoy watching every second they're on the screen because their energy. But yeah, you're like, oh,
well, there always has to be an anchor character. I think somebody has to be like Halloween and Jamie Lee Curtis, right? So you're rooting for her to stop this thing.
Yeah,
you don't give a. I couldn't care about any of the other characters. I mean,
in horror, particularly for me, like I find myself I care the least amount compared to like the other genres for whatever reason. Yes. But like Ellen Ripley in Alien, I cared about her more than I did, Sidney Prescott. And Jaws, I care more about Brody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think they're probably Hooper, those have arcs, right? And they're have the rest of that stuff, but most horror movies don't. And I'm not like knocking them. That's just kind of the way most action movies don't have it either.
Well, can I say this though? It's not that I cared about the character or anything, but I was totally shocked because if I remember correctly, Drew Barrymore was one of the people they had in the trailer for the movie. And to me, I was shocked. I thought she was going to... she was immediately
This is my
killed.
first note. They pull what I call a psycho.
Oh, for sure.
That's exactly what
Because
Janet Leigh, right?
Yeah, Janet Leigh. Hitchcock totally floored the audience because Janet Leigh, obviously big actress at the time, right?
Yeah, no, same thing. You get
and she dies halfway through, and all of a sudden you're like, "What?"
Yeah, and that's how I was. I'm like, I thought she was the star of the movie.
She was in the trailer. She's on the poster.
Yep. Her face is the biggest on the poster. Yeah,
and so I think it's
very cool.
That's part of especially when it came out, and I think it as a study and as an homage to all that came before. I think it still holds up because that's got to be. Like, there's no way that Wes Craven or Kevin Williamson, he wrote it, but there's no way they put Drew Barrymore in the beginning like that, major star, and kill her and not think Psycho.
No, that's interesting. Like, I just was thinking about back to our previous conversation about giving a shit, right? Like, I cared more about Drew Barrymore than I did.
Because you latch on immediately.
Yeah. Well, then it's like a 10, 12-minute scene, too. Like, and that was still, that's one of the things that held up still to this day to me. Like, when we watched it, I was like, oh, wow, this opening is still, like, get you.
That's why one of my rules for a good horror movie is unknown actors. Because of...
You think we latched on because it's Drew Barrymore?
Yeah, specifically, you have all that baggage of seeing Drew Barrymore in all these different movies, and then when you see her, she's like, oh, yeah, and then she's gone. And then you're stuck with people you don't know, you don't care about, and then you're settling in for the action.
Well, I didn't think about
That's
that. Well, Drew Barrymore is fucking dead. Who else do we got in this movie? I don't even know these people. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
That's what makes a good horror movie is
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
To anybody.
Well, and whether we as an audience even realize it, we subconsciously latch on. Okay, that's the guy that is going to be the one I need to watch, or that's the
For sure. You do that in every movie. That's one of the things, not to go down another rabbit hole, but that's one of the things I liked about Joker with Joaquin Phoenix a lot was there were none of those characters. Like, you're forced to latch on to him. And he's, mentally disturbed. And, like, I really like that movie because of that. Because you're, all right, 2 hours, you're going to spend the whole movie with this guy.
Yeah, right. And likability is not even a factor. Like, the audience doesn't have... You will latch on to the guy that you start to feel is the...
Yeah, you like the most or you identify in some way.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be likable, Okay, so that was my first. I have it down as an extended prologue. Pulls the psycho in a sense that a big star you think is the actor of the film is killed. Meta in the sense that it's a slasher movie talking about slasher movies. Because the whole conversation, many conversations in this movie make reference to slasher movies. And I think...
well, she lives and dies by, like, trivia on horror movies.
Play a game, movie trivia.
Do you like scary movies? Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So very self-referential. Now, I have that as not necessarily the opening image because with the opening image, it's usually the main character or hero.
A before shot.
And then the closing image is how they've changed at the end. And obviously Drew Barrymore does not make it to the end.
Yeah, so she has no after shot.
Right. I don't see that as an opening image.
Agreed.
Blake Snyder has that as his opening image. A ringing phone, an isolated house. He says, a buxom Drew Barrymore, which is absolutely true. He says, like the starting point of many a teen horror movie, this image is ripe with cliches. But I don't think that qualifies as an opening image. Opening image of the film, sure, but every movie has an opening image.
Yeah, I mean, this is his
First
rules
scene.
and his stuff, and I hate to disagree with him, but, I do. I'm with you, Phil.
Yeah.
Like, it should be if Nev Campbell's the main star,
Yes,
it's her opening image.
So I see that as an extended prologue to set up the tone.
Yep.
Maybe call it, because the murder is referenced later when they're sitting around talking. So I think it's set up, but I don't think it's an opening image. I have as the opening image, it's a similar situation. Sydney, alone, boyfriend Billy sneaks into the room. Dad investigates. I could have sworn I heard screaming. They'll even say scream or screaming several times throughout the movie. So
Nice.
yeah,
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
At the end, Stu says, "It's a scream, baby," when he reveals his dad, the kidnapped father or whatever. So this, I think, is her opening image. She is innocent. She hasn't had sex with Billy yet.
Wanting to maintain a PG relationship, and
Yes.
he's wanting to take it to R.
Right.
Which I thought was cool. I like the use of the language in the movie ratings.
Yeah, well, he says girls with morals and standards on top of the clothes stuff, your underwear rule, and later we'll learn that is one of the rules of horror movies, no sex. And
have sex, you die. Right.
Right. And so he is trying to have, sex with her. And if you haven't seen it by now, spoiler, I mean, he is one of the killers, right? So he is we'll get to this, but I think he is trying to have sex with her so that he can then kill her, right? Like, I think that's part of his...
Possibly.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I hadn't thought about it, but like, why wouldn't he just kill her before then? If it's not, like,
yes, well,
that's not the goal. Then you kill her before, right? So
right. So that was the thing when I
thought about that.
when I couldn't figure out a structure for this movie from Nev Campbell's point of view, who is held out as the main hero character or whatever. I said, okay, well, what if this was Billy's story? And then it sort of lines up like Billy's story is much more structured than any other story in this movie because it starts
his motivation and his
it starts way before the movie begins. His catalyst.
Yep.
Okay, his setup is he's got a good family. His catalyst is Sidney's mother sleeps with his dad and his mother leaves and he feels abandoned. And his break into two is he kills Sidney's mother. Well, that all happens off screen. So by the time we see Billy, he's already into his fun and games. He's whacking people, man,
Yeah, right.
So his story, and I thought that could work.
Which I guess that's true for every serial killer, right? I mean, that you just said, like they're always into the fun and games.
Well, right, and a good writer, like, okay, so every character is the hero of their own story. The villain is the hero of his own story.
Correct.
But we are going along with the good guy, right? Most of the time. But
he saved the cat or whatever he did.
Yeah. So if the character is well written, he's going to have all his beats too, and I think he does. Some of them, and I think his story is actually more solid than any other character in the movie because everybody else just basically running around screaming and scream whatever. So anyway, so yeah, so
screaming in a movie called Scream, ridiculous,
just absolutely crazy. So I think Catboy goes off rails a little bit with this opening image because it doesn't. I don't. We'll get to see what his closing image is because it has to be something else. Yes.
Well, along with his opening image of that with Drew Barrymore, can I just say, who has open windows like that where you can see inside the house? That always creeps me out.
Yeah.
You know that. Okay, yeah, she's on the phone and he's like
on the patio, like
yeah,
where you can see out into
you
the
can
patio, like
see-
there's like walled floor to ceiling windows.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
I hadn't thought about it.
Well,
but
it's yeah.
Okay,
rich
we-
people
I-
who
I
live
grew
in
up-
the
the guy
middle of nowhere.
by the pool, right? I mean, that's why they're there, right? I mean, it's realistic. I mean, is that what you were going to say? Like,
well, I think yes, I would
so we can see the boyfriend tied up in the chair by the
sure,
pool.
and it's why cops and firemen in TV shows don't wear helmets when they're storming a building because you can't see the star's face.
Yeah.
Right. So at this point, it's for camera shots. You know, these
yeah,
long
but-
shots through windows and
okay, I can understand. I grew up out in the country, and I guess you feel like in the country you don't have to worry about people looking in, but the very fact that he says that he's watching her,
yeah,
and I'm sitting there going, well, your windows are wide open.
Right.
So I don't know. I just wanted to make that note.
No, I hadn't thought about it, but that's good. Yeah, like I don't like the blinds being open at night.
No.
Because if the lights are on and it's dark outside, you can see into the house very easily. Not that I'm worried someone's going to come get me. It just mentally messes with me. So like as it gets dark, I close the blinds. Yeah.
Yes, because it's like you can't see outside when it's dark out there, and
Yeah,
the lights
They
are-
can see in because you have lights on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
and I'm a curmudgeon. I'd close all the windows, lock all the doors.
Yeah.
Hide in my cave. Right.
I just wanted to make that.
Yeah, no. And I think I'm sort of glancing at his notes here. I think Snyder holds this up as a Monster in the House example, maybe because it was so popular, probably around the time he was writing this book. But I think he is having to reach a little bit too to structure this because I don't think it is well structured in terms of the beats or whatever. All right. So, any other thoughts on opening image? I think it does set a good tone with that extended prologue, but I don't think it serves as an opening image of a before picture of the hero, which I think is at this.
Yeah, it's
point.
opening image obviously for the movie, but in the town and kind of set up on what's going on, but not for her.
Not for her. Yeah.
Yeah, her.
Her opening image is innocent virgin.
Yeah, I don't want
By
to.
the end, she will not be that. Anyway, the setup: murder in a small town, Woodsboro, California. Casey and Steve, I guess, were the two. Casey was Drew Barrymore, and Steve was the boyfriend.
Yep.
Hit the movie, splatter movie killed, even worse than, and then so there is reference to the backstory, sort of held up as mystery, and we find out a little bit later. High school kids, obviously you're going to have your standard stock characters, which are always high school kids in this kind of stuff. Sydney, the daughter of, so there's all these veiled references to something in the past that this is similar to.
Yeah, that's one of the things that bothered me because the police were interrogating, would they say, students, teachers, and janitors.
Yeah.
Which was a throwback to, I think, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because Wes Craven does a cameo as the janitor, but he looks
Is that
like
Wes
Freddy.
Craven?
But he looks like Freddy
And he's
Krueger.
called Freddy.
And he's called
Yeah,
Freddy.
and he's called
Yeah.
Freddy.
Yeah, I thought that at that point I was like, okay.
So the janitor who looks like that,
And dressed like that.
obviously, they're interviewing the janitor.
Right.
But
right. And the guy that gave him the job, like, what are you doing?
right, and then they say that the Sidney Prescott, daughter of. It's like, okay, but everybody in that room knows what the hell happened
Right.
1 year ago with her mom.
Yes.
So that was just exposition that.
Oh, I see what you're
For the
saying. Yeah, for the
audience.
audience, but the characters knew. Yeah, I hate when that happens. I mean,
yeah.
it happens in movies, but yeah, it always bugs you.
Yeah, it's like, there was one murder.
You're only
in the
saying
town.
that for
yeah.
my benefit as the audience. You fucking
Exactly.
guys wouldn't even be having this conversation, or you would have a completely different type of conversation because
Exactly.
y'all all know the information. Yeah, that's
Yeah, okay.
frustrating.
Yeah, so there's going to be lots of red herrings in this movie. False leads, which when it first came out and I didn't know, I was totally on board with that.
Yeah.
I thought that was done very well. I wrote my note here is the principal seems touchy. There is this scene with the principal
Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name where he sort of he's talking to one of the girls and he sort of touches her, and I thought, okay, that's he's a little creepy there. And so but I feel like that was done to sort of because you're going to get a lot of misdirection, and I think that's a misdirection.
Yeah.
To think, okay, well, is this the guy? Is this
Even when he was threatening the students a little bit later who were running through the halls with the masks on,
yeah.
he was threatening them with scissors.
yes,
yeah, that could be
I actually have that as a note also.
overboard. Yeah,
The principal with the scissors, red herring. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
which I thought was done well. Now it works one time, second viewing, but But when it first came out, I think that was the appeal. Everybody was like, "Oh, you got to see this," and I thought it was done well. The misdirection.
I just thought if the Fonz, became a principal later in life, he could do what he wanted.
Sure.
Well, I mean, even to the point you're talking about misdirection, when they're in the bathroom and you see the shoes come down, well, then later on, Dewey's talking to the police or sheriff, whoever it is. He's got the same. Yeah. They start off the shot with his shoes.
I was thinking at the end of the movie, because I've seen this movie 20 plus times. I was like, man, there must be a store around there that specializes in those boots, and everybody has those boots.
One of my notes is sheriff has same boots as Ghostface, red herring. So yeah,
nice.
Yes, a lot of like you said. This is all intentional. Billy, Sidney, Stu, Tatum, and Randy are discussing the murders. Sidney's mother is absent. The setup mystery is deja vu all over again. So there's
mother's absent, father's absent.
I have Sidney's mother is absent. The setup mystery.
Well, the mother's dead. The father.
Right. But we don't know. I don't think we know that at that point, right?
Oh, okay. All right. I was just making sure that.
Yeah.
Because the father does go absent later on.
Yes, but they keep referencing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they keep referencing something with the mother, but you don't know that it's murder.
Right.
We've seen it so many times.
I
didn't catch it.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that's how it was the first time. Yeah.
Yes. All right. This is still set up. With her dad out of town, Sidney makes arrangements for Tatum to stay with her for the weekend. All right, and then reporter Gail Weathers shows up, and she gives us this info dump, which is not done terribly. I mean, it wasn't a bad way to do it. Gives us backstory on Sidney and her mother with Cotton and all of that.
Did you notice who another one of the reporters was?
Mm-mm. Yeah, I did.
This is Linda Blair.
Oh, no, I did not notice that. I thought you were talking about the other one.
Linda Blair from like Terminator or something?
From The Exorcist.
Exorcist. Yeah.
Oh, wasn't she who was...
You're thinking maybe Linda Hamilton?
Linda Hamilton, yeah.
No, Linda Blair was
I found that out last night upon my last viewing of this. My girlfriend was like, oh, that's her. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, I found it out because Catboy talks about it in his beats. Like once I read his beats after watching the movie, I realized, oh shit, I completely missed her.
Yeah, I did not. I
just had to throw that in because she was one of the first reporters I think that showed up.
But her, what I thought you were going to say, Sherry, is the cameraman that's with Gail, the guy.
Yeah,
he's I don't remember his name, but he's been in a lot of stuff with Tim the Elephant. He was in Justified. He was
I knew he looked familiar.
He was the guy that takes the kind of the office hostage, and
I don't remember.
And he keeps calling Raylan shooter, and Raylan ends up getting him some spicy chicken.
Yeah.
I meant to look him up because I was like, he looks so familiar.
They were in Deadwood together, and they're also in Mandalorian together as well.
I remember.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking of the reporter in the second one. Because I'm like, but
the one who gets his throat.
Yeah.
In the van, yes. He gets killed in the van.
Because like later on, it's a black guy, right? And I'm sitting here thinking the black guy, but that's not.
No, that's in the second one.
Yeah. No, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
He was in Something About Mary as the brother.
That's where I remember.
How the hell did you forget about the beans? Right. I forgot that was him.
Go back and look at that.
Okay.
Nice. I forgot that was him.
Yeah.
Anyhow, very good character actor.
Yeah, I like it. He's in.
I looked up his name and I did not. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Sidney's mother was found raped and murdered just 1 year ago. Cotton revealed as the killer based on testimony from Sidney. Gail Weathers has a theory that Sidney got it wrong. This is what I have as the setup. And then I have a catalyst. This is what Catboy has as a setup. The sin that Drew commits is denying she has a boyfriend so she can flirt with her mystery caller. That's the sin of this movie, apparently. The punishment is death. Both her jock boyfriend and Drew are sliced up and left for dead. Drew's parents find her. This 12-minute sequence and set the table for what follows. We meet Sidney, who's a virgin. Nev Campbell, her single dad, is getting the murder of Sidney's mom over 1 year ago. She's getting over it. She's joined by Billy, the killer. But for now, he's just James Dean-like boyfriend who wants to take the relationship to PG-13. So I don't know that that's... Okay, because the sin is not Drew Barrymore flirting with... That's not the cause of the monster. So Catboy, I think, must have had a late press date for this book and was rushing because I don't I totally disagree with that.
Yeah, it seems like the ultimate sin was just sex. Originally with Billy's mother.
yeah,
And that's what I was going to say. The being
Sydney's mom
flirting,
and all that.
pretending you don't have a boyfriend or denying you have a boyfriend so you can flirt with somebody else. I mean, that's all flirting, it can lead to sex, right? So I guess I feel like maybe that's what he's getting at. Like, because all these, like we talk about the teen horror movies, once you have sex, you die.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah.
And even the backstory with Billy, right, about it was an affair thing, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean,
Yeah, no,
and he was abandoned where Sydney was not abandoned and raised by,
Yes, no, the sin brings the monster, and the sin that brought this monster was adultery and the breakup, home wrecker.
So lying about a boyfriend so you can flirt with somebody else, that's under the same umbrella as adultery, I think is what he's maybe getting at. You know what I mean? Again, it's the wrong character.
It's a
'cause
symptom.
It's
a symptom of the
Drew's
overall
story.
thing.
It's
yeah,
Ned.
but I mean that's fine.
I think the killer
But you've
calling.
got to mention.
Yeah.
So
To me, the callus I have is the killer calling Sydney.
yeah,
Like, that's our callus.
yeah.
When
That's exactly what I have. Catalyst, Ghostface calls Sydney. Sydney attacked.
and the whole
Billy
reason,
to
and
the
it's
rescue.
Billy calling her, right, because of the backstory.
Yes.
Yeah. So that.
Yes, and so
she doesn't know what's going on at the time, but
yeah.
the
So
whole reason she's targeted.
this is why Billy has the stronger story. He's got this plan and he's putting it in motion. Right.
Right.
He's crossed into the second act. So when we meet Billy, he's in his second act.
Yeah.
Right. And Nev, the hero, is a fun and game at this point. But like I said, basically the first act of his story takes place off camera, in terms of the structure or whatever.
Yeah, his first act was 1 year ago.
Yeah,
essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway,
Well, no, because it comes out that Billy killed Sydney's mother, right?
Yes,
Framed
Cotton is
Cotton
innocent,
Weary.
yes.
So that happened a year ago. So his plan has been in place over a year.
yeah, it's the anniversary of the mother's death. So I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah, and that was one of the
like
things.
his breaking two is probably killing her, right? Killing the mom. Like the callus was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
adultery
Yes.
and being
he's
abandoned or
breaking the
whatever.
two is
and
I'm
then-
going to do something. I'm going
Right.
to kill the mother, and
And then-
and I guess that didn't solve his angst, right?
Yeah, well, it's just like Batman. First time he, solves a crime or stops crime, like it's not over. Like he keeps going, and
Yes.
his fun and games is stopping all the crimes.
Yes,
so, yeah,
Nev is still
serial
walking
killers.
around. I mean, so he's her boyfriend, not out of any kind of devotion, but as maneuvering her into position to.
Yeah, to toy with her and mess with her. And,
Right.
Yeah.
So Catboy has the catalyst. Nev and Pal, they learn of the murder the night before, and Gail Withers is on hand. Deputy Dewey. The school is shocked by Drew. So I guess he has the death as the catalyst, which I guess I could see, but is in terms of Nev's story, if she's the hero, it's got to be, because at this point, someone's been murdered, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that all their lives are in danger.
Yeah, like if it was her best friend or something, then maybe that's different. My best, because the catalyst is typically something happens to the hero, something's taken from the hero.
Yes.
Well,
was-
here, the phone call is what happens. Like the
Yeah, she's
person
attacked,
getting
yeah.
killed is not her friend. If it had been the
Now it's
Rose
personal.
McGowan's
Yeah.
character, then
Well,
it looks
she
different.
arrives to the school, finds out about the murders. She was Drew Barrymore's character. Casey was Sydney's classmate. They sat right next to each
Yeah.
other,
Okay.
so that does mess with her.
Yeah, okay, I forgot that.
Casey was the ex-girlfriend of Stu's character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, oh yeah,
Yeah,
when they're
just
by the
broken
fountain,
up.
they're talking about that. Yeah.
Didn't you date her? Yeah, for like a minute.
Okay, yeah.
And if I was, what's her name? Rose McGowan's character. I don't know her name. Tatum.
Tatum, yes.
If I was Tatum, I'd have been like, wait a minute. My boyfriend's ex-girlfriend just got brutally murdered.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know,
Right.
alarm bell, maybe one or two.
Sure. Except that, her job is to wear that tight half shirt.
That she does. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember having such a crush on her when I was.
No, she's.
And now I look at, beautiful woman, just not my style now.
Well, this is not that kind of podcast where I'd say a lot more,
Right. Yeah, the buxom blonde that's
Yeah.
fodder for stabbing.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so I did forget some of that, but still, like, we didn't see that, right? Part of the setup, and like, if this was going to be, the setup would need to be show how close good friends they were, show them sitting next to each other, right? Which ruins the whole the brilliant prologue. But or have put Nev in the prologue and she runs away or some shit, you know what I mean?
Right,
and escapes.
right.
So yeah, I think the phone call is more powerful than she was a classmate. You know?
Yeah, because she goes home after that day of school, goes home, and then that's when she gets the actual phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a debate, like is Billy, who is the killer, horror movies. So there is a debate section. He's got all kinds of things. The video store clerk and all of them. So I think he gets that, obviously because they are sitting around debating things or whatever. Anyway, so I'll
Yeah, I guess
give him a check
I
on
had
that.
part of the debate is like, who could she trust? Who is the actual killer? And then it starts to come, she starts like, is Cotton innocent actually, right? Like,
yes.
is
Who is the real killer?
of her mom? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is her mom's killer still out there?
Right.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
at some
they
point she'll
call that-
start to doubt,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you saw someone leaving that with Cotton's coat and planted it, and yeah, there's a lot of doubt placed in her mind. So it's, the real killer is still out there.
Yeah. We already talked about the principal with the scissors. There's a scene. So there, like I said, there's a lot of red herrings. Billy is arrested. He shows up, and Dewey finds the suit, and Billy is taken in for questioning and eventually arrested.
Yeah, because that's the initial phone call where Sydney finally talks to the killer.
Yes. Yes.
And busts out of the closet. Well, can you see me? What am I doing? She's picking her nose.
Yeah, right,
She's
right.
doubting that it's just a prank
Yes.
and all that.
Yeah, she thinks it's Jamie Kennedy or whatever, Randy.
Yeah, Randy.
Randy,
That's
yes.
like, you gave yourself away, blah, blah, blah. And then the killer busts out of the closet, chases her around,
Yes.
disappears. And then we have
And he
Billy to
shows
the
up,
rescue, and Dewey with the costume.
Yeah. And so Billy's arrested, and this will cause Nev to debate. Billy, at this point, she's made her decision. Billy is the killer. But while Billy's in jail, the killer calls somebody, right?
Calls Tatum's house.
Calls Tatum's house. Okay.
After Sydney punches Gail, boom.
Oh, yeah,
bitch
yeah.
went down. I'll send you a copy. Boom.
Yes.
Super bitch.
Here's where we see, like I said, I have an almost parody. We see janitor named Fred dressed like Freddy Krueger. I didn't know that was Wes Craven or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, we were initially led to believe that the principal possibly could be the guy, but that is quickly taken off the table as the principal is killed.
Well, they called into after all the pranks and everything, and Sydney's chased out of the bathroom.
Yes.
They called not quarantine, but
Curfew. Yeah.
They called curfew, so everybody's gone home. The principal's there alone.
Yeah.
And gets a knocks on the door and sees his janitor Fred mopping.
Right. Yeah. More debate as to the killer. Randy is convinced it's Billy. He actually has it right.
Well,
But he has it right because he's jealous of Randy and Nev, right? Like doesn't he have a thing for
oh yeah, for Sydney.
Yeah.
Sydney? Yeah, right. So I think he hates Billy not because he thinks he wants him to be the killer to get him out of the picture. I think. Repeatedly, the father is held out as a suspect because they cannot locate him and eventually find that he is not where he said he was going to be, and we will find out later why or whatever. Again, we see the sheriff has the same boots as Ghostface that we saw in the bathroom. There are some references here to other movies, Prom Night and The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which I have not seen. But they make reference to both of those. And that is what I have as the first act, and very tentatively so, because like I said, I could not necessarily nail down hard beats. He says at the 25-minute mark, the mysterious caller wakes Nev, drawing her into an upside-down world of Act 2.
That's his breaking into?
Yeah, Nev does what she says only dumb girls in these movies do, run up the stairs instead of sprinting out the front door. Nev is saved by Skeet, who pops open her window, claiming he heard the ruckus. Never fear, Deputy Dewey arrives to arrest him. So that's the break into two. And
do we arrest him based off like evidence? I'm trying to remember evidence that he found because he found the stuff, or was it like did Sydney go no, you need to arrest him? Like did she push for Skeet to be arrested?
I think she suspects strongly, and
He drops his cell phone, and he's like,
Yeah.
yes, because later
that's how the phone calls are being made. Yeah.
yes, but later we find out that the phone is traced to her father.
well, they copied. It's not
oh, okay.
his phone, but they copied it somehow. But apparently back then, did a lot of people not carry cell phones?
Probably.
Because
Because they call it a cellular phone.
Yeah,
that's
and-
always a big tell. Yeah.
And because the sheriff says, "Why do you have a phone on you?"
Yeah.
And of course nowadays it's like, "Why do you not have a phone
All
on?"
these kids would not be debating the killer. They'd all be.
Sure, no, it'd be completely
Googling
different.
it
Yeah,
and-
when Stacey and I were watching it, like I thought she had like ruined the whole thing because we couldn't remember, and so like as before, like the phone falls out, like when the killer was chasing her to the house, Stacey's like, "Wait a minute, how's this guy calling her?" Because he's all these up to this point, all the calls are on a landline, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, well they had 2 lines in the house, and that means the guy would have to be in the house. I was like, shit, did you just ruin Scream? And they made 5 of these freaking things. It was just, we literally couldn't remember. And then when Stu shows up and the phone falls out, I'm like, because I was thinking, because there'd been no cell phones in the movie up to this point. So I was
Yeah.
like, was this before cell phones?
Oh,
And then the cell
yeah.
phone falls out. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right. Whew,
Yeah.
that's your ruined Scream, which was going to be hilarious to me.
God,
but
I still have to recall that I'm remembering this movie after years and years of
cell
watching
phones.
it.
Oh,
Yeah, years and years and years and watching it. 20 plus years of multiple viewings. I never thought
about that.
Oh yeah, cell phones. They weren't a thing.
Well,
Right.
Cell phones really made it hard on writers because so many problems can be solved by just
with a fucking cell
So
phone.
you
yeah.
always, like in these movies, you always have to. There's always an obligatory scene now.
Yeah.
Where why the cell phone? I get no bars. It's always I got no bars. Okay.
Yeah, you have to have that so that they couldn't get out of it
Yeah,
very
because
easily.
if not, you will
Yeah.
solve this in 5 minutes, right?
Just like Throw Mama from the Train, he keeps calling from a phone booth.
no, Danny. The quick
Danny
cuts of-
DeVito keeps calling from phone booths, and I'm like, oh, they're not there anymore. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, when he did say cellular, and I kind of giggled every time they would say cellular phone.
Well,
I'm
now
like,
I think I always just say smartphone. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like nobody says cellular. Maybe they'll say cell phone, but
Just where's
well,
my
I
phone?
say cell phone all
yeah, now it's just where's my phone? I don't even
Yeah.
know that. I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't even think we don't even have our landline hooked up, do we?
We have
I know I
we
do.
have our phones
I
hooked
don't.
up, but
I
not
don't
to the
even-
landline
No, no,
itself.
it's-
Don't have a
it's through the
landline. Don't have a
computer.
phone. Yeah, it's all cell
Yeah,
phones
I
now.
mean,
We do have a home phone, but it's through the
it's
computer.
Magic Jack. It's a
Yeah.
portable. It rings to my cell phone because
Right.
Anyway,
We'll be in the living room and text Lath on his phone, who's in his bedroom. It's
You know,
that's how
it's-
bad
oh,
it's
yeah.
got.
Oh,
It's
we-
ridiculous.
Yeah,
yeah.
we do that all the time. I'm in here texting him.
well, who wants to shout across the room?
That's just rude.
And, all of that to say that I guess I was thinking about his breaking into is even weird too. And I hate to
Yeah.
bash on Catboy, but because the breaking into is the character deciding something after the debate.
Yes.
Something happens, you debate about what am I going to do about it, you make a decision to do it.
Yes.
Her getting a phone call, that's something happening to her. That's passive. That's not her taking action. Yeah, she's got to run and shit, but like that's reacting to what happens.
Yes.
It's like that's what I was thinking. And if she made the decision, oh shit, I think my boyfriend's the killer, arrest him, then at least that's some sort of break
Yeah.
into
Well, that
it.
was my thing. I don't think there's really a proactive character.
right.
They're all just
So they're
reacting.
running
It's all-
around and screaming.
Right.
And,
It's all react. Which a strong character, at some point, has to turn the tables or start to.
Right.
And I don't know that ever really happens. And in slasher movies, that's not necessarily a prerequisite. You know,
yeah. Then you have to make it. I mean, yeah.
until the very end. Until you know.
Make it, the main character makes a decision to act twice in a in a well structured movie. Then the break into 2, and then the break into 3.
Yeah, right. Yes. So I have the break into 2 as preparations are made to protect themselves. So they're all getting together, having a party. Tatum is going to stay with Nev, right? So,
Protect themselves by getting drunk.
yeah, to stay
You don't see
together.
them fortifying the house or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, just staying together. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, fortifying the house would be one thing.
yeah, because is
And I
it?
guess Randy gives them the breakdown. I don't know that anyone takes it seriously, but he gives them the rules.
Yeah, no, they're
right?
watching a horror movie and he's giving a class, right?
Yeah.
And
They're watching all the Jamie Lee Curtis movies.
yeah,
Minus Trading Places where she finally goes topless.
yes,
That's
yeah.
the whole conversation is why do all these have Jamie Lee Curtis?
I
She's
forget-
the
yeah,
Scream
right.
Queen.
Yeah.
right.
That's funny.
Yeah, so
Still doing it, actually. You know?
Oh yeah.
Halloween Kills. Just
yeah,
came out.
no, I need to at some point.
I mean, ends. Excuse me. Halloween,
Halloween ends. Yeah.
Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends are the new ones with her. But
Let's
yeah.
just say this is not a podcast where we should review that.
damn.
All right.
Damn. You don't know, man. We may decide to do like a bit where like all 4 of us pick like the worst movie we've ever seen, and you
Well,
can pick
how
that
could
one.
all of us pick Birdemic?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah.
sorry.
No sex, no drugs, and no I'll be right back. Sydney and Tatum stay together. Randy teaches the rules. So this is what I'm having as a break into two of sorts, because, like I said,
That's so late.
right. And then the fun and games. Tatum is killed. Billy arrives late to the party. Sydney and Billy talk. Sydney, again, a self-reference. This isn't a movie, Billy. This is all one great big movie, Billy says to Sydney. So in his mind, although that probably works, right? Because, he's instituting his plan. He probably sees it as one big revenge drama,
Right.
Even just
we're like we were talking about earlier. He's the hero of his own story, and so he's in his fun and games or whatever at this point.
I didn't pick a B story necessarily. He has the love story concerns Nev and her dead mom, and is spurred on by Courtney, Gail. As the current murder and her mom's entwine, Nev will learn about mom and herself. I guess I can buy that last part, because Nev does undergo some kind of change from thinking her mom was perfect to realizing, because when Billy says, your mom spread her shit all over town, she's not buying that.
Well, Tatum tried to tell her that they're on the porch after school one day of, you can only hear a rumor so much before you start thinking it's true. And, did you ever really think maybe your mom was unhappy and your dad's gone all the time? So, Sydney thought her mom was
hung the moon, yeah.
Right. So, all right. So if you wanted to, and I didn't think of that till just now that you're saying it, James, you could structure the story as a transformation from a daughter's awakening to the reality of her mom, going from naivete to awareness that people will disappoint you and aren't always as,
Sure.
And,
And
now, was that the intention of Wes Craven? And no, I think they wanted a knife and blood.
If they did, it's weak as
right.
hell. If that was they put that in there, so I'm sure that's kind of their thought.
Yeah.
But it's just weak.
The other one that bugged me was after Skeet, Billy gets out of jail.
Yeah.
And, he's got the fingerprints and all that. No, it couldn't have been me and blah, blah, blah. He literally tells her, your mom died a year ago. Maybe it's time for you to get over it. I'm like, I would have told him to
she sort
eat
of,
it.
She sort of reacts. I can't remember what she said, but she reacts, doesn't she?
A little bit. I can't believe you'd be
remember.
telling me that. I'd be like, dude, if anybody told you that.
She punched Gail. I'm thinking Billy's getting punched at that point.
Yeah, the killer, him being killer or
bastard
not,
goes
that
down.
relationship's over. And then when he shows up at the party later,
Yeah.
I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, I told you to kick bricks.
Right.
That relationship would have been over.
Yeah.
She should have stood her ground. But I think, like you were saying, the naivete is...
Yeah. Well, there is, I think, some of the peer pressure and wanting to, be accepted by Billy. I don't know.
Yeah, the typical teenager stuff. What? You don't drink? What? You're not having sex yet? And you're still a virgin? Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, and so she is invested in the relationship. Clearly, well, not clearly. We don't know he's the killer right off, but like she wants to be in love with Billy, and Billy, we find out,
I guess
has
that
no feelings whatsoever. He is.
I guess it all falls. I just thought about it. It falls all under this umbrella of how naive she is. Right? She doesn't want to admit that her mom, could have had, adultery. She doesn't want to admit that her boyfriend could be this killer, and right? I mean, it's all. She's like, arrest him. She's very wishy-washy, and then
Takes him back.
Falls back on it, changes her mind so much she does end up having sex
Right.
with him.
Yes. Yeah. More fun and games. Stu and Billy, killer number 1 and 2. Stu does not care about, at some point when Tatum is killed, someone says, well, I haven't seen Tatum in a while, and Stu just doesn't care. Oh, he says some off the...
Oh, she's mad at me. She probably took off.
Yeah.
So do we think Billy killed Tatum? And so maybe
Yeah.
I was just talking about this. So so then Stu maybe if he did care, right? Even though he's a psychopath, did he really want to go out to the girl? He knew what happened to her. They were in this together, so maybe he's avoiding the garage for a reason. He didn't want to go out there and see his girlfriend dead.
Maybe he knew Billy.
I've watched this movie so many times, and I can probably break down which is it Stu or
nice.
Billy.
Yeah, because I was wondering.
killing
Nice, very cool.
which one. The only one that I can't pinpoint is the bathroom scene when Sydney's chased out of the bathroom in the high school.
Yes.
I think that's just a prank. I think that's neither
so, yeah.
Stu or
Who killed
Billy.
Drew at the beginning?
So they were both there.
Oh, nice.
Stu
Okay.
and Billy are both there in most of these occurrences.
Okay, all right.
I think they were corralling her.
Yeah, I would think they'd
so
almost
the
that's
one
how
that
you
actually
could get moved so fast. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
the one that
makes
actually
sense.
stabbed her was Billy, but they both hung her up in the tree.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that, in the
makes
very
sense.
next scene when the kids are all at the fountain talking slice and dice and all that, and he's talking about, oh, it's easy, you just stick it in, because he had just done it.
Okay,
Yeah, nice.
because I was wondering, like, what's the body count for Stu and Billy? You know what?
The telltale signs are Billy tends to choke his victims and use one hand.
Yeah.
Stu tends to go with the double
Really?
over the head stabs.
Wow.
That's like
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to go
the
back and watch that.
viewpoints that I see.
That's
And,
good.
Yeah, stuff like that. So, but to go back, since I'm just ruining it for everybody anyway, when Billy first arrives at the house after Drew Barrymore's murder, Billy first arrives, Stu is there kidnapping the father. They're both there at the house at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Then he goes to Tatum's house. Billy shows up in her window, yada, yada, yada.
Okay, all right.
When Billy is arrested, when Dewey catches him, Matthew Lillard was the one hiding in the closet. Billy calls. Billy's usually the one on the phone. Stu's usually the one in disguise.
Yeah, but so when Billy's arrested, though, the killer calls. So
That's Stu.
Yeah.
Calling.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, at that time.
But also Billy, I guess, because right after they have sex, then she, I guess, kind of, if you could have an all is lost moment for Nev, is when she realizes he used his one phone call in prison to call her, right?
Yeah, he has
Am I
some.
remembering that right?
Yeah, see, she questions that, and he has something to say about that.
He called his father.
Wouldn't answer or something.
Yeah,
Which is
he wouldn't
bullshit,
answer.
though, right? Because he used that to make one of the
He
calls.
probably called Stu and said, Stu, call her.
Yeah, because he didn't have the equipment to do to make the voice.
Get my thing.
Yeah, because because at that point,
That's what she figures out, though, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Billy has sex with Sydney, breaking the first rule. So now Sydney has lost a layer of protection, so to speak. This is what I'm talking about. Like why didn't he kill her? I don't know that he's obeying the rules, but I think he wants to break her down piece by piece and have sex with her and kill her.
Sure.
Well, and I mean, but if we're all under the revenge for the way her mom was in committing adultery, well, I guess it's not adultery. Never mind. I was going to say she's pure, I guess, right? But it's not adultery. She's sleeping with her boyfriend. But
yeah, right. No, but I think Billy is that sadistic and that.
Yeah. Like it's I don't know. Maybe like
he wants to
him. All sex to him is
it's
not good.
He wants to destroy. He doesn't want to just kill her.
Yeah.
Because this is his issue. This is like this abandonment. His mother. I mean, I think he's got the strongest motivation. I think he's got the strongest story. Anyway, Randy is left alone. Everybody they get the news that the principal's body has been found on the goalpost or something. Everybody leaves, and Randy is left alone. Has all rushed out to the scene where the principal's body has been found.
Yeah, Randy's talking to the TV. He's right behind you, Jamie. He's right behind you.
Yeah, because Gail has planted a camera, and so the cameraman is watching. I still have my fun and games, right? So he's got a big paragraph. He's got, as a midpoint, the fun and games culminates with the death of the overacting Mr. Winkler and just in time cornered in his office. So he's got the midpoint as the death of Henry Winkler, and I'm way past that, right? I mean, yeah.
But is it the death or the finding? Because those happened at two different times. The principal gets stabbed.
Cornered in his office, the principal is stabbed by the real ghost mask killer.
Right.
Which definitely raises the stakes of this mystery, not to mention knock one more person off the list.
Yeah, that could be the halfway point, midpoint, and then the party happens.
Yeah, it's so weird though. His beats aren't happening to a main character; they're happening to a town. Like the opening image was with Drew Barrymore. The catalyst was her getting killed, right? And then the midpoint is the principal getting killed.
Yeah,
where is Sydney? Where's Sydney in all of this?
Right. So
because the midpoint's a false victory or false defeat for the main character. So what?
I don't know.
I
would be hard pressed to decide whether that was a defeat or a victory. Like, how can it be a victory?
He must have had one of his assistants do this. Do the Scream one.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, Scream is a great movie, but
I don't agree with the way he broke it down. So
yeah,
which is one of the cool things about this, because there's been times when you and I don't agree.
Right.
We just use these and then try to crack a story.
Sure.
So that's cool. But
and to be fair, people who go watch Scream aren't interested in a epic, right?
Sure.
They want largely a fun and games movie, and that's what you go for. That's what I
absolutely right.
and
It's
I still love
quotable.
it for that. You know,
Quotable, fun.
yes,
Yeah.
That's why we
Well, like we
watch
talked about
it.
earlier, the beginning of this. Yeah, they're not going in there looking for some great character arc. You know?
Yeah,
I want to see some guy change or some chick, change.
Now,
and
is
go
is that a plus? I think so.
Yeah, I
But
enjoy movies more when they have it, but it doesn't mean I can't enjoy a movie that doesn't have it.
right. And I think Scream pulls it off with enough entertainment factor that
For sure.
And
there's enough, all the fun stuff we're talking about, the red herrings and the reveals. The reveal's a big part of horror movies.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that, if you nail that makes it.
This has a great reveal.
Yeah.
no, I thought this was yes. I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was genius when it came out. And everybody did. It was 175 million on a 14 million budget. Everybody that's a lot of word of mouth telling people to go see this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think I saw it 3 or 4 times in the theater.
On their cellular phones.
Right. Well, there's a movie with Kim Basinger called Cellular, where she's kidnapped. I think
Statham, right?
Statham,
Yeah, I
Statham
think
plays a
Statham,
bad guy, and the whole thing is the cellular. She's cellular. I can't even. That's not. That's even hard to say.
It is. It's
cellular.
weird. Yeah.
Just anyway. Yeah. So he's got the bad guys close in as the party now.
I could see that.
Which okay, all right. I think the bad guys have been closing in since the first 30 seconds of this movie, right? And then all is lost, which on some level I could see
Yeah, I guess
Nev agreeing to have sex with Skeet as the all is lost, because at that point she has forfeited her card.
Yeah.
The house is abandoned and Nev is alone. Dark Night of the Soul.
Yeah, well, you have sex with a guy, and then you immediately afterwards realize that you were right the whole time. This guy is the killer.
That's when you ask.
Major all is lost.
That's when you ask, hey, what'd you do with your phone call in prison?
Right, not before, after. Yeah, after.
Yeah.
Nev, gosh, lady, come on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So
this is the time when Dewey and Gail got a report of the car in the ravine up the street.
Yeah.
The kids are leaving the house, almost hit them.
yes. And the cameraman is killed.
Yeah, and they're rolling around in the bushes together.
Yes.
Yeah, the one thing that bugged me, and this was the last 2 or 3 watchings of Scream, Gail Weathers is not a nice person, never treats Dewey nice. She's manipulating him and using him the whole time. How that turned into a relationship.
Yeah.
In the sequels, they're in relationships on and off again.
Right. In part 2, they've broken up because she is manipulative and mean. Dewey will say.
Nice.
Now they get back together, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, and Gail does show in part 2 a little bit of heart and regret at how she treated Dewey.
Well, she's like the first chick showing him like attention, right? Even if it is being manipulative, because the rest of the world and the girls, especially girls, are laughing at him, right? Deputy Dewey and all this bullshit, right?
Well, he even says, when I'm wearing this uniform, you have to listen to me talking.
You treat me like a man of the law.
You treat me that's right.
Mama said it.
Yeah, Mama said it. Oh, God.
So yeah, she was just, and I think Courtney Cox took this role specifically as the other side of what her friend's character was.
Yeah.
So she could be a bitch. So I never noticed it before because I was just a young, innocent teen, just thinking all that. But looking back, she did a great performance in that because she was not likable at all, manipulative, and it came across.
Well,
and I give her more credit in this movie than most everything else.
Sure. Now, there's a movie, I want to say was there a movie where she started with Bruce Willis, where she's working at a motel or in some small town or something?
Courtney Cox?
Yeah.
3,000 Miles to Graceland.
I bet it was. I bet that not Bruce Willis because
Kurt Russell and Costner.
Because there's a scene you want to talk about the opposite of Courtney Cox. You remember the scene I'm talking about? She's the cowgirl. She's
a little hot under the collar.
Yeah,
Phil.
she's not. It's not missionary, okay? And she's going to town, and I'm like, Courtney. Oh my God.
So I give her more credit in this movie, I think, than I ever have before.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Jennifer Aniston did the same thing. Like, it was a little bit later, but like the Horrible Bosses is nothing but rage.
Right. Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
feel like any actor that plays like a character for a really long time, I think they get worried about being typed.
Sure.
And the audience only seeing them as that character, so they try to branch out, do different things, and they're probably even like as a challenge. Maybe they're kind of bored of playing the same, type of characters. Let me play something completely different.
Any actor,
if I
worth
play
their
good guy all the
salt.
time, let me play a bad guy or whatever. Yeah.
I think most characters or most actors that are on those sitcoms for years and years and years, they just slowly die inside. You're getting paid millions and
$15 million
millions.
an episode probably helps, though, right?
No, but it does. But then
Well, that's probably a big part of it, though, too. I'm dying inside creatively, all this stuff. It pay me more money. If I'm going to keep doing this, pay me more money.
The friends that by the end of that show were making lots of money per episode. I mean,
And they negotiate together. Like they went and said, you're going to all pay us equally, and it's going to be an insane amount of money, or we're fucking done. And the producer's like, here's your check.
but then afterwards, Matthew Perry and all it's like, what did they really do after that?
he went to rehab. Matthew Perry.
Yeah,
I think. I mean,
I
And whole
enjoyed.
9 yards. And,
The whole 9 yards, whole 10 yards. I love those.
those are great movies.
Anyway, I would digress.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So some of this, like Dark Knight of the Soul, if you're talking about Nev's story, okay, whatever. I guess I get it. By choosing to have his break into 3 is to have sex and die, rule the movies. Now she has entered the monster's secret world. He says, okay, maybe. I mean, but she's had sex, but she hadn't decided to. Because by the time the character's breaking into 3, right, they've dug deep down and are going to fight the monster. She just had sex with him. I mean,
that was her only decision. I'm going to have sex with them.
yeah, I'm going to defeat you by giving you exactly what you want.
Show you who's
I'll show
boss.
you. Anyway, so my fun and games are still going along with Sydney's father's car has been found now so more allusion to maybe he's the guy, a strong case. Cameraman killed, Dewey stabbed, and Sydney flees. Then I wrote, I could not locate a midpoint false victory or defeat, and I don't agree with his or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're in the fun and games, there's like 20 minutes left of this movie. Like, I mean, there's
You're right. No, I think
mess.
I think
It's a mess.
Well, I think, but like we said in defense, I think a good slasher movie is fun and games. I mean, that's what you know.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting that the beats, I guess, are so wonky and so many either skipped or missed beats. But as
very,
a whole, the
blurry
movie,
or fuzzy,
it still works and it satified the audience.
Yeah, well, there's very much the genre expectations, right? I mean, even Catboy and all these gurus will say that. Certain genres carry expectations, right? So if you're watching Die Hard, you do not expect aliens to land, because it's not that kind of movie. In a slasher movie, you do not expect Nev to sit down and read poetry and be introspective about her life, right?
Sure.
And so does this meet expectations and fulfill its genre? I think 100%, yes.
Yeah.
I think, yes. So in defense of the movie, I think it does work that way. For bad guys close in, I have Billy and Stu reveal to Sydney they are the killers. So the monster, the sin, Sydney's mother was a slut, slept with Billy's father, which made his mother leave. So for bad guys to close in, they have to become closer than they have been. And at
You mean close in?
You're closed in, right? So if I was pressed, that's what I'm saying is that Billy and Stu now are laying it all out for poor Sydney, right?
So as you're always lost that that her mom was not as pure as she thought.
At this point I'm grasping. All is lost.
That would make sense.
Stu, it's a scream baby, reveals that the kid. So now not only are these the killers, but the killers have her father.
Oh yeah, her last remaining parent. Okay.
Yes, sure. And then the Dark Knight of the Soul, Billy and Stu take shots at each other. So they're stabbing each other with a knife. I don't know how this is a Dark Knight of the Soul necessarily for Sydney. In her mind, it's got to be like, yeah, keep doing that, you guys. And
right,
You went too deep.
Feeling a little woozy here.
So what does he have? He has, Dark Knight of the Soul. Nev is the best. So he's way behind us. The finale, Matthew, and this is his finale. Matthew and Skeet reveal themselves as the killers seeking revenge against both Nev and her mom, whose hidden sin, he talks about a hidden sin now, which he never mentioned before, of sleeping with Skeet's father ruined Skeet's life. The twin killers' supercharged powers come not just from insanity, but from being able to be in two places at once. A and B stories cross as Nev and Courtney work together to kill the killers. His final image, Courtney wraps up the tale of Nev's mom and the recent murders, saying it's like something out of a scary movie, which brings this postmodern thriller full circle. So the final image if the opening image was what's her name being killed, the final image is.
That was very specific, Bill. Casey.
I
Drew
couldn't
Barrymore.
remember her character name or her real name.
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore.
Casey, the first.
The opening
murder.
image was in What's Her Name Was Killed, in a movie where lots of What's Her Names are killed.
Sure. Courtney Cox wrapping it up. The tale of Nev's mom, which. So if the closing image is the reveal of Nev's mom being not so pure, then the opening image has to be. At some point, Nev thinking her mom is pure. I mean, so I don't.
It's a mess.
Yeah, I think the movie fulfills its expectations and doesn't have a lot of structure, but it's still entertaining because it does fulfill those expectations. I think
Applying his beats
is more of a mess than the actual movie is.
Agreed.
In its own genre.
Agreed.
You can't fault the movie for being what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Now, I still like a well-structured story, but it didn't detract from my enjoyment of it because it so much fulfilled what I wanted to see.
Yeah, and I think
I want to laugh, I want to scream, I want to.
You want to give a shit and you want to care. Yeah, so like you're not gonna. So to me, I think the fact that the beats are so blurry, right? I think if you nail the beats, that's what makes and have a good character arc. That's what makes you care more about the character at the end. Where in this, like we talked about it, we didn't really care all that much.
Yeah,
maybe that's why, because it was not so clearly defined.
Yeah, that's
you
what I'm
never
saying.
latched onto
Yeah,
it.
that's what I was trying to say. Yeah, but again, I agree with you completely. As remove Blake Snyder's beats as a whole, the movie works. I mean, it made a ton of money. It spawned a whole series. Yeah, it did what it was supposed to.
yeah. So Dark Knight of the Soul, Breaking the Three, Stu and Billy dispatched, loose ends tied up, Gail gets her story. So, everything we just said.
Okay.
I did loosely structure this from Billy's perspective. And so from Billy's perspective, I have Billy is the mama's boy with a stable family, right? His catalyst, Sydney's mother has an affair with his dad, and his mother finds out, leaving her husband and Billy, scarring him. Debate, you can almost see Billy at that point reacting and saying, okay, should I do something about this? Should I not? I'm having these thoughts. He eventually, I'm sure it wasn't just an automatic, I'm going to go kill somebody.
Yeah, because he'd put so much venom behind that, she was spreading her shit all over town.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where that came from at that point.
It is kind of funny though, like because what you were saying earlier, where he tells Sydney, your mom was killed a year ago, get over it. Well, like he's on this, that's his debate here.
Yes.
Your mom, committed adultery. Get over it, or do something about it.
Right.
And he decided to do something about it.
Yes.
Not the right thing, but
He did something.
did something.
Breaking the two, I guess, killing Sydney's mother. Is that what we said?
Yeah.
Fun and games, the murder. Midpoint is a false defeat for Billy. He gets arrested, I would think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Bad guy screws in. Sydney breaks up with him before he can have sex with her. All is lost, which is now a false victory. He does have sex with her, so that's a false victory because he doesn't get to kill her.
Yeah.
Dark Knight of the Soul, I couldn't unless I really couldn't. Breaking the three, revealing to Sydney, stabbing themselves to cover their tracks. So at that point, Billy is storming the castle. Right now, he's going to get to kill Sydney.
Yeah.
And so stabbing themselves, fighting Sydney and Gale. Final image, dying, dead murder. So he goes from live murder to dead murder, which is, I guess, his arc, right? The descent into madness resulting.
Yeah, he was the mama's boy.
Mama's boy to sadistic killer with a bullet in his
Sadistic
head.
killer.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Billy's story is solid, I think. I immediately thought of Halloween, but that story is he's just raging psychopath because he kills we don't get any. Do we ever get a motivation for?
No,
Myers, right?
ideally he's just like Jaws.
Yes,
He's
he is a
soulless killing machine.
A soulless killing machine. Yes. Now I was a little surprised. We were not talking about Halloween, but I watched it last week or whatever. I was a little surprised at how human he sort of acted. Like there's a scene where he's when he's initially stalking. What's her name during the day, right?
Lori
during
Talking
the day.
about the original Halloween?
Yes.
Okay.
And like he's at the schoolyard and this kid runs into him and bumps into him and he grabs the kid and the kid looks at him and he lets him go. And I'm like, he seems almost emotive at that point instead of this just,
Well, don't watch the new one.
Okay. Well,
and that may have been, the writers and movies, like, because, we talked about it before,
You
I
don't
think.
kill kids,
You don't
right?
kill kids, you don't kill dogs, and
Right.
that was 76, 79, I think.
Something
So,
like
He
that.
killed the dog in that one. In
Yeah,
the
in
first,
the original, he killed the dog?
yeah.
All right, so maybe they were like, look, we killed the dog, we can't kill kids, too.
Off camera, you hear. "Arr, arr."
Yeah.
Well, you see his little legs go limp.
Oh,
Oh. All right, well then,
What a
I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe he was, you just spared the kid. Go, grow up to become a serial killer like me, kid. I don't know. I hadn't seen it in a while.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that story that you just broke down of Billy is very good.
Yeah, no, I
that
mean,
makes so much more sense.
yeah,
that
Billy's
fits
story is
into a
strong,
box.
and
Scream the prequel.
yeah,
It's too late now, but
Screequel?
Screequel. Yeah, Screequel. I like it.
there you go. All right. Pass, consider, recommend. I mean, for me, I recommend it. I think when it came out, it was genius, and I think it's still a lot of fun. It is what it is. You're not going to get literature. You're not going to get an epic, but you're going to have a good time, I think, which is
Agreed.
what you go to these kind of movies for, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It brought back the horror slasher genre to especially my generation and forward. Story-wise, I didn't realize until we watched it with a little bit more critical eye. If this would have passed my desk, I probably would have said, what?
Right.
Yeah.
But as an overall movie, totally recommend.
Now, I almost there's I think they make reference to a director in the
Wes Carpenter.
Wes Carpenter, yeah. So I
that's
wanted
cool.
to make sure I remember that. Yes,
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, this isn't some Wes Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
Anyway, yeah. So definitely a recommend for me for what it is.
Yeah, recommend from me.
Yeah, same here. Recommend. On all the same points you guys said. No, I mean, I guess it wouldn't be a recommend if I'm looking at it from like movies that nail Blake Snyder's, beats.
Yeah, but even Blake Snyder, I don't think nailed it.
Agreed.
I don't think.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think he chose this movie because of the popularity, and people would know it when he put it in there.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue with what it did for revitalizing the horror genre. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I recommend. I remember I don't see these movies in a movie theater.
Yeah.
I don't like to see scary movies in a movie theater. As it's too much,
Too big.
too big a screen. So I saw it, by rental, and I just remember the advertising, and I remember watching it, thinking this is really good.
Yeah.
Because I don't like slasher movies, but like I said, it was so funny to me, and it was a really good whodunit. It kept you guessing the whole time. And I remember after I watched it, I said, okay, now I got to go back and watch it all over again so I can see it knowing how it ends.
Right.
So, yeah,
And
I
it's
recommend.
it's funner to have watched it once, find out who the killers are, and then go back and watch it again and really enjoy yourself picking out all the little bits and the red herrings.
Yeah, I'd be interested to try to do what you did and see, because I always thought, well, which one did Stu kill and which one did Billy kill?
Yeah, that's how many times I've seen it is I can now pick that out.
Right.
Or at least I think. I don't know.
No,
And then, of course, it got me coming back for the second one because it has
Sure.
because then the actors were unknown when they did this, but then you like, okay, I really like this person and this person, and
yeah, all the
so
characters were fun to watch too. I mean, each
And it still had that shock value of any, like in Scream 2, when Jamie Kennedy bites it.
yeah,
It still has that anybody can go at any
Yeah,
time. But then you also get the backstory of Liev Schreiber playing Cotton Weary.
yeah, you only see him like for a couple of seconds
in
in
a
the first one.
in a news segment.
Not even a speaking part, right?
yeah. I thought he spoke in the first one, then realized no, it's the second one.
Right.
But then Jamie Kennedy does show up in the third one as on video.
Yeah.
So that was good to see him show up again.
Yeah.
So anyway,
All right,
Well, cool. Yeah, it was a
Good.
good one.
that's
yes,
Scream.
good pick.
Happy
then-
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the second one, they make reference to the movie Stab. It becomes Stab.
Because they're going to make a meta stab
Yeah.
universe within a universe. And then it went on to do, what were the scary movies? The scary movie franchise.
Oh yeah.
The
Make fun of
comedy.
them
So
all.
this one just
Oh yeah.
blew up everywhere.
Yeah, it became a thing. All right. Okay.
Ghostface. With Ghostface.
Ghostface. Yeah. All right. That is Scream. And like James said, happy Halloween.
Well, Drew Barrymore is fucking dead. Who else do we got?
This is my first note. They pull what I call a psycho.
Oh, for sure.
It's a scream, baby. So by the time we see Billy, he's already into his fun and games. He's whacking people, man. You know.
I just thought if the Fonz, became a principal later in life, he could do what he wanted,
Sure.
The ultimate sin was just sex.
Once you have sex, you die.
Alarm bell, maybe one or two.
Sure. Her job is to wear that tight half shirt.
That she does. Yes.
This is not that kind of podcast where I'd say a lot more,
Right. Let's just say this is not a podcast where we should review that.
Damn.
Yeah, this isn't some Wes Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
Anyway.